back at it. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News. This is the Snort Report. SnortBucks Coffee Company, best beverage company. Hard Snorts Gin and Tonic, that toxic flavor that never wavers. Hopefully you guys are all doing well and whatnot. Happy belated New Year to everyone and whatnot. I'm kind of recording a bunch of these, so like I have no clue what will be sent out first or not. So if it seems a bit out of sync a little bit, just going ahead and throwing it out there. It is what it is. We should get into the proper swing of things as time goes on. Anywho, hopefully you guys are all doing well. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to actually do a video that was actually from last year, 2022. We are here with DSP Tries It, Memology 101. DSP doesn't upgrade his setup because he has to take care of his family expenses. This was from December 19th of 2022. The link, as usual, will be down in the description. Oh my god, where do we start? Ladies and gentlemen, DSP has probably, I don't really think he's actually purchased anything, to be honest with you, plus or minus a console, or maybe a television, that outside of a few things, he hasn't done anything to, well, my bad, he hasn't bought anything to upgrade his setup. Let's call a spade a spade. Excuse me. To establishing a setup is one thing, but to actually upgrade a setup is another. He didn't buy the laptop. He didn't buy the PS4 Pro when he needed that. Didn't buy the TV. That shit's like on, well, the first television someone actually bought him. And then the one that he has now is essentially on like pay as you go. It's on some type of payment program, which theoretically should be paid for by now, and that would have been done with tips. So he didn't do that. Truth be told, both of his consoles were paid by somebody else, to be honest, because he didn't raise the money himself. He basically begged for other people to do it. The laptop, someone paid for. He's still trying to get people to buy a new desktop for him, which isn't working out. He should have just taken the one that Rich was going to give him, but he said that he didn't want to be beholden to him. He didn't buy the he didn't buy the newest capture card. Someone sent that to him. He has a Stream Deck. Didn't buy that. Someone sent that to him. His little sound fucking box, which is embarrassing that he still uses that damn thing. He didn't buy that. Someone sent it to him, even though he could easily just find sound clips on YouTube and just put it into OBS. But you can't do those things. Basic shit, just absolute basic shit. What else? He hasn't purchased anything to upgrade his setup at all. Like I said, the microphone, the soundproofing, the mic stand, he didn't buy any of that. Or you know what I'm saying? Like he didn't. Someone else paid for that. Patreon paid for that. So I'm not surprised by anything. And none of you should be either. He depends on people for everything, so he doesn't have to do anything. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, DSP Gaming, essentially, YouTube, Twitch, his fan base, his cult, whatever you want to call it, they are there to take care of him for the rest of his life. They are the retirement. It's going to be a very long and excruciating process, but they are the retirement. He has no means to do anything himself. That shit gets spent on his drink, it gets spent on whatever pills he's taking, and it gets spent on WWE champions and whatever else he spends on frivolously. He doesn't believe in saving. He doesn't believe in spending money to make money. Spending money to DSP is a reward for the job that he's done. Why should he have to save? He worked really, really hard. He should be able to spend at his leisure, or you work hard, you play hard, if you will. If he actually knew what work was, of course. Anyway, same concept. So that's why we're at where we're at now. And using his family, meaning Kat and Jasper, as his shield is just par for the course, to be honest. But we'll hear what nonsense he has to say about it. We'll have a good laugh. Should be fun. Should be fun. Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen, This is the Snort Report. This is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh, yes! The GTG Network and Productions. Brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company in hard snorts gin and tonic. That toxic flavor that never wavers. I hate when DSP actually does that too. And whatnot, which I used to think for a while was a cue that he was drinking alcohol when he would do that, and it might still, but I don't know. He chews his water. He does all these little strange ass mannerisms. It's just, you know, that he doesn't socialize with anybody. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you're that awkward, I'm supposed to believe that you and Catherine sit down and have a meal together, like face to face. I can't buy that. I don't buy that whatsoever. You two are in separate rooms, doing your guys' thing, and that's it. Like, there's clearly you have no interaction. I would say he's as scared. He's probably as scared spending large periods of time with Catherine as he would be with any detractor, to be honest with you. It's like being on the other side of the fucking moon. It's like speaking to a fucking alien. He couldn't compute. You know what I mean? That's just the thought, though. But it does explain, or it could explain, on why he's been so unhinged. Ladies and gentlemen, human interaction is important for any healthy mind, any healthy personality and shit. You know what I'm saying? You need to talk to people. And you need to talk to people who will disagree with you. You can't have people who are just going to toe the line with you just because. There's no growth there. If there is no resistance, there's no growth. So for people who have to have it lucky, or have to have groupthink, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's not going to get you nowhere. And those are the people who usually end up burning you anyway. DSP is a shining example of that. If you think about it, if you want to look into other sectors, look at fucking Flamenco. Look at that nonsense. Like, despite what that dude does, or allegedly has done, or whatever, his audience has his back no matter what. And that's not necessarily a good thing. Look at Ricada over there on locals and shit. Like, I understand the whole freedom nonsense or whatever, but people took advantage of that quickly as he was slowly but surely isolating himself from the YouTube audience or whatever. Like, anyway, you know, you take a look at that stuff on your own time, you can see what I'm talking about. It's a different type of situation. It's not necessarily healthy. Just because things are the way you want, or the way that is comfortable, doesn't make it good. Anywho, I will see you guys in just a second. Holy shit.
Anonymous tipper, give me $1. What would it take to upgrade your streaming setup? I'm watching you for over 4 years. Literally nothing has been spent on upgrading the viewing and streaming experience in that time. You'd be very surprised how easy it is for you to upgrade for a more professional setup. There's streamers who don't make in a year what you make in a week, and they do it. Here we go. I need banana, tasty banana. Put banana in my mouth. Squeeze the peel, it comes in. Squeeze banana. Back to the subject at hand. Friday's Christmas Marathon event. So how's it going to work? All day long, I'll be streaming starting in the morning for the Level 1 podcast, but I'll be in holiday attire. And in fact, at this point, I have not one, not two, not three.
How does he make the most...
Give me $1. What would it take to upgrade your streaming setup? I'm watching you for over 4 years.
Sorry about that. How does he make the most basic shit seem so daunting? I don't understand that. That's... Like, everything has to be fucking special. And, like, you're not throwing a fucking surprise party for a bunch of special need kids all the goddamn time. I mean, I know it seems like that, but that's not what the case is. And then his concept, like, what grown-ass man talks about, it has to be special to have meaning? What? Like, what are you doing? Like, what kind of... It's more than mental gymnastics. It's like... It's almost like walking through a psychotic fucking funhouse. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this is what happens when you don't have no interaction with nobody. Like, there's nobody that can give you input. You know what I mean? And it's funny because he spends so much time trying to convince the detractors, trolls, haters, and critics to stay off his fucking ass that he completely and utterly throws his own audience into groupthink, and the ones that end up actually speaking out of turn or out of phase, if you will, they end up getting booted. Fucking A, bro. Just a sick-ass existence. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with DSP Tries It. DSP Tries It, Memology 101. DSP doesn't upgrade his setup because he has to take care of his family expenses. This shit is from December 18th of 2022. Yet again, the link will be down in the description. Here we go.
Peel it comes in dinner. Squeeze banana. Back to the subject at hand. Friday's Christmas Marathon event. So how's it going to work? All day long, I'll be streaming starting in the morning for the Level 1 podcast, but I'll be in holiday attire. And in fact, at this point, I have not one, not two, not three, but 4 ugly Christmas sweaters.
I don't care. I mean that. Like, I don't want to hear about this shit. I don't want to know about this shit. I don't give a fuck. It's so stupid.
4 that I'll be alternating wearing during the course of the day. Okay? I don't know if we'll do thresholds, like maybe if we hit a certain amount of support, I'll change the sweater, or maybe I'll just periodically change the sweater regardless. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I would prefer tips.
I'll be drinking all day long. Hoo boy. Now, I never drink on stream. You guys know that. I'm a professional. The consummate professional. So there's absolutely no way that I'd be drinking on a stream unless it's Christmas. So, for the event, I'll be drinking a White Russian or 2. I have the ingredients to make a White Russian drink. I've never had one before. So it'll be interesting because it's supposed to be like almost like an iced coffee, milky drink, but there's liquor in there. You see? Also, a citrusy, fruity sake.
I didn't watch any of this trash because it's trash. So I'm not sure what's what. I did hear about the whole whale gin nonsense. We'll get to that in just a second. He does know that he can buy White Russians or mudslides or whatever the case may be. Most of those type of drinks pre-made, right? Like, matter of fact, I think Kahlua actually makes... Pretty sure Kahlua makes that in a bottle. All he has to do is pour that shit over ice or blend it. Like, he didn't actually try to make a White Russian, did he? I'm just gonna assume that his dumbass did. What a waste. What a waste of time. What a waste of materials and whatnot, or ingredients, I should say. He could have just bought it all pre-made. Like, you're not a mixologist, nor would you even have the first idea about anything. The most basic shit that you've ever done is fucking Sprite and gin, or whatever, Tanqueray, and whatnot. Stick to what you know if you're not willing to actually step out of your comfort zone. Wow, what a waste. What a fucking waste. I did hear, though, interestingly enough, that when he bought all of this liquor, he had it in a bag upstairs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to be an asshole, but I'm going to be an asshole. Why the fuck is he hiding alcohol upstairs? Why did he do that? Like, does Catherine have a drinking problem too? Was DSP hiding his drinking problem from her? I don't know. It just seems weird that you would buy all that alcohol and then bring it upstairs and keep it, like, behind your, like, little gaming chair there. It just seems kind of strange. It seemed kind of strange that he bought all that liquor and Kat didn't ask to try any of it. That seems odd. But I do distinctly remember someone saying that, like, that, I'm not sure if he got Grand Marnier, but that orange liqueur, they said that was open, and it said, like, he was already knee-deep in it. So, whatever. Let's not jump to assumptions or anything. It's not like he's not a proven alcoholic, you know what I'm saying? It's not like he didn't get on his fucking hands and knees to Mike Watts and fucking Jaha and said, I'm an alcoholic, I got a problem. Snort. It's not like he didn't do that, right? It wasn't like he confessed to some people that he talked shit to online that he was an alcoholic to keep himself from getting his ass whooped. Just throwing it out there.
Drink featuring pear-flavored sake plus a bunch of other ingredients. Like I have orange liqueur, some grenadine, and other things to mix in there that are supposed to make it a really interesting drink. So I'm gonna try that. I have spiked horchata, which apparently is Mexican rice milk, but it's an alcoholic version that has peppermint flavor in it for the holidays. So I'm going to drink some of that as well. And then, of course, the big surprise, which I have not spoiled for you guys yet, all right, it is I will have hard liquor. And I'm not going to spoil what it is. All I'm going to say is this is something I found special for you guys. It is in line with things on these streams, memes, the like, all right? And it's going to be pretty funny. Isn't this the same idiot
that said memes were hurtful, but yet you went to a liquor store and found whale-themed gin and thought that was something you could take advantage of? Poor Etika. Poor Etika. We all, I mean, for some of you guys who know your lore, you know how DSP lamented over that situation, his death, how memes are dangerous, and how DSP essentially turned that whole segment into himself, on top of all of the fucking ad breaks that he had on that pre-stream. And now we sit here and make memes of his alcoholism? And we're supposed to be okay with that? At $100 a shot, right? Poor Etika.
And what we're going to do is, if I get a contribution of a certain level on the marathon, I will take a shot of this, all right? Now, being that I don't want to take a million shots and get super drunk, and now I can't stream for you guys, it's going to be a rare thing. It's going to be like, okay, a big contribution comes in, I'll take a shot.
It's all about money. It's always about money. Always.
A nice, chill, holiday-themed day on Friday to celebrate the season. So if you can make it Friday the 23rd, I hope that you will. If not, of course, all those festivities will be recorded and uploaded right here to DSP Gaming after the fact. Oh, and by the way, because I'm on YouTube, I don't have to worry about someone mass reporting me and trying to get me banned because I was a little tipsy and I might accidentally say something that is stupid. Because on YouTube, they don't do that.
That doesn't sound like what that's supposed to sound like at all. That sounds like, hey, I'm more than likely going to say something stupid. Don't bother trying to report me because it's YouTube and I can get away with it. That's kind of what it sounds like. So, did he say anything worthwhile, worth mentioning? Anything about the Jews? Anything about Asians? Anything about them stationary folk? Anything? Anything at all? I mean, he's kind of pre-recording his excuse right here. So, I would think if you were going to going out your way to do this, you more than likely said something, right? Right? Yeah. We'll see.
Shit. On YouTube, oh no, you accidentally said something dumb because you were half drunk. Guess what happens? Your video gets demonetized. Whoopity doopity. Your video gets age restricted. Oh no, Christmas is ruined because I got an 18 plus video. No one cares, right? God forbid you do a Christmas stream on Twitch, you have a sip of liquor, you say something, and now you're banned for 4 weeks. It's like, fuck that place, right? Seriously, I'm so glad I'm not there anymore, right?
Well, this guy.
I mean, you do realize, though, too, if you get enough videos demonetized on YouTube, they'll just demonetize the channel, right? I'm sure there's a couple of detractors out there that actually know what I'm talking about when I say that. So you do realize that's a thing, right, Phil? I'm just saying, I'm not giving anybody any ideas, but please believe it's not. You can, if you're monetized and whatnot, you can be hurt in certain ways. Just saying. And he's crying about 4 weeks on Twitch. When did any of you remember DSP being suspended for 4 weeks? Jesus Christ, this guy was indefinitely suspended and came back after like 48 hours or some shit.
Half.
So, let's see here. Fandango has tipped me $1. Says, like you, I've been playing games for a long time, but lately I'm more and more tired. I don't know if it's my age, it's just not as fun anymore. How do you keep yourself entertained by playing so many games, which some don't seem to be really interesting? Again, for me, I think the key of my success has been variety. If I had, over a decade ago when Street Fighter 4 came out, had decided that I was going to rededicate myself to competitive Street Fighter, and that was going to be my focus, I probably wouldn't be here anymore. I probably would have retired and gave up and got a 9-to-5 job.
That shows you how short-sighted he was. There was opportunities, and I've spoken about this before, I'm sure as others have too. There were some opportunities for Street Fighter 4 that he could have been in right at the ground floor, at the ground level, and whatnot. Could have had a much direct. Sorry, let's reword that. He could have had direct contact with Maximilian in more of a business type way. Could have built some bridges or rebuilt some bridges to the FGC. Could have been a lot of money there, man. Could have been a lot of opportunity to grow. The problem is, as most people, it's not just DSP, most people can't see long-term opportunities, right? So let me give an example. As it pertains to the Machinima deal, So Machinima comes to him, and they're like, "Hey, we see that what are some of the plans for your channel, so on and so forth. Let me fast forward." And they bring up, "Hey, we see that you do a lot of fighting game content, right?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I'm a former pro fighting game player, Snort, so I get some experience, Snort." He could have capitalized on one, having the quote unquote tournament experience, that he could have helped Machinima at least point them in the direction of some of the players they should try to point out, or some of the content creators, and also help organize on the back end, collect a paycheck from that. And then he could have also helped be one of the faces of it on the front end, or at least from a promotional standpoint, right? Which are all the building blocks for something bigger later on down the line. DSP wasn't going to do that, and he wasn't going to be successful at it because he don't want to share spotlight with nobody. He takes himself too seriously, and he feels that he must be the center of attention at all times. Because of that, he would have, if anybody else from the FGC, especially some of those newer guys at the time that he didn't really know of, if they came in and their personalities shine through, if they're knowledgeable, if they're just charismatic, they're going to blow him out the fucking water, and he knows it. Same thing with Max. You put him and Max up together, Max is going to beat him in all categories without even breaking a fucking sweat. Because Max doesn't have to take himself seriously, nor does he want to. He's about the betterment of everybody involved, and you can see that. It comes through when you watch something that Max does, or Max puts out, or just how Max speaks. When you hear DSP talk about the FGC, or when you hear him talk about fighting FGC, when you hear him talk about his passion or whatever, it sounds fake, it sounds like a poser, it sounds like a fucking phony and a fraud, because that's what it is. They ain't got no heart for none of this shit. It's all about money, essentially, and clout, ironically enough. Two things that he couldn't handle when he had. So I don't understand why he would try to chase for more. It doesn't make any sense. It really don't, especially from a fighting game standpoint. Like, you have, granted, I personally am of the stance that he was never really that good. I'm sorry. I'm of the stance that it's very possible people took him lightly, or they handled him lightly, because most of the things that he talks about that he was winning, or he was even competing well at, those weren't situations that were make or break. Now, most people could say, and DSP certainly will, I'm moving back the goalpost. No, I'm not. He was the one who was running around for years saying that he took 4th place at EVO in 2005. He went with that for years. He didn't say shit about shit as it pertains to, I went ahead and I placed highly, or I won all of these qualifiers or whatever. That came later, after people humiliated the shit out of him over the EVO 4th place thing. Then he said, "Oh, well, I won all these qualifiers." I was one of the first people who said, you didn't win all those. Excuse me. You may have placed you may have placed well enough to get seeding, but you didn't win all of those. And eventually he ended up backtracking on that. And then it turned into, well, when you really look into it, it turns into this weird gatekeeping situation he was trying to do, which still didn't matter, because he still failed in 2005, he failed in 2006, he failed in 2007. So all of that money, putting himself into debt to get out, to spend those 3 years to get out to EVO, to make a name for himself, or to prove that he wasn't a fluke or a flash in the pan or whatever, didn't matter, because his placement proves he was a fluke and he was a flash in the goddamn pan. Period. Now, did he beat some notable players? Absolutely. No one's going to take that from him. Sure, he beat some notable players. I will say he didn't beat them when it counted. Qualifiers are qualifiers, ladies and fucking gentlemen. But when it comes to the big dance, the thing that he put himself in massive credit card debt for year in, year out, and had nothing to show for it, what does that mean? What does that tell you? And then, as the proverbial loser as he is, instead of, okay, you took the L, go out on excuse me, go out on the strip, see who's going out, hit a fucking bar, hit a fucking show, hit a couple of buffets, do something that seems more productive with what little time that you have in Vegas. He wanted to sit up there in his fucking room and lament about how all these people cheated him or whatever, and how the West Coast took advantage of him, and the Asian players had all the advantages because the games are made over in Japan, and yada yada yada. The reason why all of that shit is meaningless is because he makes it meaningless. Just like with his 4th place finish. #1 ranked North American player of 2005. It comes across as meaningless because he made it meaningless. Who fucking claps at 4th place, dude? Like, who does that? In the day and time we live in now, yeah, they had given him a participation trophy for all that bullshit, but that's one of the reasons why games are fucked up now. No one wants to strive to be the best anymore. Everybody just wants to be cool with everybody else so no one seems like an outlier. That's the problem. No one really wants to compete no more. In certain categories. Shit, whatever. And when you look at Street Fighter 6, because there's a couple of people who have videos out on that I'd like to go over. We'll see. Like, I'll show you exactly what I mean about how he wasn't really that good. It's not even just the reactions, the reflexes. It wasn't even. It's not just those things. It's not just about muscle memory. It's also about how he thinks when he's approaching his matches. When he's approaching these matchups, he needs to be preloaded with the knowledge to go in. He's not willing to experiment. He's not willing to learn. He's not willing to experience nothing. He needs to have all of that from the jump. If that doesn't scream loser, I don't know what to tell you. And the reason why he screams loser is that's him basically saying, if I don't have an advantage, then it doesn't matter because everything's already going to be fucked up. It's just like watching those Call of Duty videos that those Call of Duty streams or whatever. When he's crying about plates, he's crying about this, he's crying about that while he's sitting in a fucking bathroom the majority of the game, hoping to fucking sweat people out. That's lame as shit. And then his reflexes are bad too. So if any of you guys are in a game with him, right, and you know he's in a bathroom setting, fucking wall bang the shit out of that door, dead center. He's dead. He's not in a corner or nothing. He's right there on the toilet, or he's right there in the middle of the room behind that door. Light that door to fuck up like it was Christmas morning and shit, and he's done. Woo.
Service job, or retail industry, whatever it would have been.
So shut the fuck up and stop lying, because next time I'm not going to be so nice about it.
And quit on this, because I can't do that one genre anymore. I like the fact that in any given week, just think about this week. Today, High on Life, a comedy-based first-person shooter. Warzone, a more serious survival-based battle royale game. God of War Ragnarok, a third-person action game. Pokemon Scarlet, an open-world turn-based RPG, right? Later this week, I'll be playing 2 Bethesda games. I'll be playing Disney Dreamlight Valley, a sim game. That's huge variety. And because of that huge amount of variety...
I don't give a fuck that there's a bunch of variety. Is that shit entertaining or appealing? And that's where he thinks his genius comes into play. Oh, I'm playing all of this, so there's something for everybody. But his game selection sounds terrible. How many of those things, even in a this is how you don't play type environment, screams out to you that shit might actually be funny? You know, I'm just saying, man, more credit needs to go to the people who do this is how you don't play, because that shit must be fucking torture for these people, especially over the last few years. And the fact that DSP has been willing to tank his content, not that it was good in the first place, but the fact that he was willing to tank it further just to stay ahead of this is how you don't play in the restreamers is fucking maddening. You had a time where this idiot was able to hold 400, 500 people. Now we're dwindling down to like 200 at night, supposedly. He's barely hitting over 1,000 views on his videos and shit. Barely. Can't remember the last time he hit 7,000 or 8,000 on anything that wasn't drama related. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, this shit is fucking getting ugly. And then as it pertains to reactions, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but as it pertains to reactionary content, he says something recently about him wanting to go ahead and double tap on wings. Because, let's be honest, if you look at the wings down the rabbit hole, and you look at the DSP down the rabbit hole, or at least the dark side fell down the rabbit hole, I should say. His reactions to them, I should say. The Wings one was far more profitable. DSP couldn't even make his own "this is how you don't play" interesting, intriguing, fascinating. He couldn't do any of that at all because the idiot can't laugh at himself. He can't joke with himself. You know what I mean? He sat there as opposed to try to take this serious ass fucking tone, and that was lame. With the wing shit, there was stuff that he really didn't know. Like he legitimately did not know. So seeing him trying to learn and process that shit, and then try to flip it into how he could make it about himself, was a struggle session in itself. But at least it was somewhat entertaining. Anywho, we'll see how that plays out, because obviously the desperation's out there.
Keeps things fresh for me, and it allows me to have a good audience, a variety audience. So right now, we have 494 members on the channel. We have 338 people on the stream, and an outsider would come to the stream and say, wait a minute, Phil only gets like 300 viewers on any given stream. How could he have 500 members? Because I'm a variety streamer. Because the people who are here now might not be here later today, but that's a different group. The people here later today might not be the people who are here for the Christmas event, because that's a different group. Even though at any given time I have a few hundred viewers, I actually potentially have thousands of people who enjoy the content. They're just not all here at the same time.
Shut that shit the fuck up. I don't know what kind of copium that shit is. No, all you did was split up your fucking fan base, right? And that's why you don't get the support that you feel that you should get consecutively or consistently. It's because everybody's too fucking minted. And then you got at least a few dents that are smart enough to realize, man, why do I need to throw even a buck at this ass clown when I could just sit there and wait it out and wait for the next cuck who really does give a fuck about this game more than I do at the very least, and they'll go ahead and throw out gifted subs, or they'll hit the tip goal, or whatever the case may be. And you want to know where all that stems from, ladies and gentlemen? It stems from the vest goal. See, if this idiot right here wouldn't have been such a fucking bitch and let the vest goal ride, he could have established a practice where people just come in and support the stream to hit the goal and to keep the game moving, despite what's being played. See, he couldn't do that. He let his ego get the best of him and shit. He was tired of fucking that platinum vest, which God knows when the last time he put that damn thing on, looking like Mr. Potato Head and shit, wrapped up in aluminum foil, because that's what he did, and given that his wife ain't blown up to the width that she is. There's Mrs. Potato Head right there. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. And by him screwing up that rhythm, by him breaking that repetition, I should say, he's fucked himself to this very day, and he's so stupid that he don't see it. And this is what happens when you don't have long-term thinking. That's what happened. He's literally the reason why the vest streak failed, because it was down to only 2 people to keep the damn thing alive, which was, if I remember correctly, that was Swaggins and Only Iced Coffee. And to be honest with you, it was in their benefit, meaning Swaggins and Only Iced Coffee, to let the goddamn thing die anyway, because it became more of a hassle than anything. He didn't want to put on certain vests. He wanted you guys to tip him in advance, early in the stream, I should say. During the pre-stream in a lot of ways, saying that he didn't want it to disrupt the game. What he really was fishing for was hit the vest goal early, and then maybe other people will come in, donate even more money, and then he can switch vests out. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole reason why, oh, well, we wore this vest yesterday, so that's out of the running, so these are the vests that are available. Hit the vest goal early, and then maybe we can get a second vest on before the end of the first stream. And then tonight we can, hit the vest goal again, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was literally trying to double tap through all these streams. And it didn't work out because he didn't plan right, or he didn't plan properly. So it fucked up. And it's because he's not capable of long-term thinking. He never has. That's why he's lost, or he's been fired, or every job he's ever fucking had. Because once he gets a job, he automatically locks himself in that he's going to do it forever. He doesn't really think about, like, long-term advancement. It's like, oh, I'm comfortable with this job is paying me what I'm comfortable with, I'm just going to stay here. I don't know what type of mentality that shit is, but I'll tell you this, people like that don't go far. They don't. Those are the people who have a fucking heart attack on their last day and shit just to get a fucking gold-plated watch, if they even make it that long. That's people who had worked 40 fucking years of their life and they still got debt because they didn't fucking plan for anything, because they weren't willing to move on nothing, because 20 years ago they were happy with where they were at. And then shit changed. You know what I'm saying? That's what that is. It's drone-type mentality. Pure and simple. He has no ambition to do anything. Even with YouTube and Twitch, or just online in general, where it was literally the sky's the limit, he still figured out a way to turn this into your fucking basic, low-wage, 9-to-5 job. Fucking fantastic.
Content.
Stop lying to yourself.
Or a content creator, I should say. Exactly. GigaChat says you have shifts of viewers. That's absolutely correct. Because I do 2 streams a day, 2 different shifts, that's 2 different audiences. The different styles of games are different audiences. And that's how it works. That's how I've kept it fresh, and that's how I've continued to be successful.
But how is that fresh when each game being played drags on for months at a time? Think about that for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. How is that keeping it fresh when just one of those games is guaranteed 12 weeks? Let's say anywhere from 9 to 12 weeks. Guaranteed. This is the same idiot, ladies and gentlemen, that we saw stretch a 10-hour game out for months. How does that happen? Whether he did it on purpose, because it was financially being supported really good at the beginning, whether he did it to yet again stay ahead of this is how you don't play, whether he did it to try to discourage the restreamers. How is that keeping it fresh when he's not even thinking about the audience? He's more scared of the opposition than anything. Theo, because of Theo said it years ago that DSP essentially, his life is essentially run by the detractors. And he wasn't wrong. And actually, as time has gone on, or as I like to tell you, give DSP enough rope and he'll hang himself, it proves it. It proves it. His whole quote-unquote business is revolved around how detractors, trolls, haters, and critics will react to it. Period. The only goal that a dent has is to make sure that the tip goals are hit. And the membership goals. That's it. Other than that, they have no real say into anything unless DSP is desperate. Other than that, he only gives a shit about what the detractors think. Which is insane. Because these people aren't going to magically turn around and become fans of yours. That's retarded. The troll tipping is always going to be a thing, but that's just always going to be a thing. So what other benefit's going to come out of it? There will never be a detractor of any respectability that will come out and say that, you know what, I think we've taken it too far with DSP. Not without facing real consequences, which would require a large amount of character, and I'm not sure how many people would be willing to do that, even if they did believe in it. Time will tell.
Market where a lot of people who used to be popular have just faded away and disappeared. I've kept it fresh with variety, and that's how I'm allowed to keep doing what I love for a living. The other thing is,
My Paypig fans.
a lot of other people were always reliant on getting that mainstream attention to be popular and make a living. I was not. Because I'm crowdfunded, it's actually my dedicated fans.
Shut that shit the fuck up. Because that's a lie too. Because early on, he was all about spread the word, yada yada yada. Try to get me out there. Try to promote my content to everyone. He used to sit there and complain that, oh well, this guy is on Screw Attack, or this guy is getting pushed by this gaming magazine, or this person is pushed by this gaming program. I don't have those advantages, so I need you guys to spread the word, and maybe I can finally get some of those opportunities that those other people did. Or those other people have, I should say. When he himself could have reached out to those different outlets and see if he could be featured, or whatever the case may be. But see, he didn't want that. He wanted to be hooves off of that situation. He wanted other people to do it. It gives him a level of, it would have given him a level of prestige if someone else pushes his content and not him. That's his thought process. And because of that, it's the reason why this lazy fuck is where he's at right now. And it's the reason why he can't do anything. He doesn't know jack shit about fucking YouTube. He don't know jack shit about Twitch. He don't know jack shit about content creation. He don't know jack shit about streaming. What he does do, or what he does know, is how to go up there, look as pathetic as fucking possible, and beg people for money to allow him to keep his existence going. He's not even good enough, he's not even pathetic enough to convince someone like Moist Critical to give him a shot. And why would Moist Critical do that anyway? He doesn't give a fuck about you. Moist Critical isn't trying to save the fucking world. He wants to laugh at shit. He wants to be entertained. He doesn't hold you to any fucking value. And why should he? And why would he? Why would he want to even associate his brand with you? That makes no goddamn sense. But the way DSP was trying to spin it, oh, I took your advice and I changed, and you should give me a platform now because I did this thing. No, like, I don't know how else to put it. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. You've been a piece of garbage since you've come on YouTube, since you've came on YouTube, if you will. You've always begged for something. If it wasn't for PayPal donations, it was for viewership. It was for people to spread your content around. It was for Machinima to essentially give you games at your own financial deficit at that. You had to beg for your friends to come onto your platform to finish game playthroughs with you, and if they weren't really your friend. You know what I'm saying? You're a beggar. You're a beggar in the literal as well as figurative sense. There's no changing that. There's no getting around that. You're as helpless and as useless as essentially any child with shitty parents. Like, you were clearly brought into this world unprepared, and you still have no understanding of it. That's why you had to make the world. That's why your worldview is shaped around you being the victim, because you can't see the world for what it is. You want people to see the world the way you see it. Detractors, trolls, haters, and critics, for the most part, tell people and tell you how the world really is. And that's scary. That's scary for you. Because there is nothing harder to deal with, ladies and gentlemen, than the weight of life. Period. For good or bad. Because there are people who can't handle success, just like there are people who can't handle failure, who can't handle criticism, can't handle praise. They're just people who can't deal with it. It becomes too much. Because the expectation becomes too much. Just imagine you putting out a video that does 1 million views, and then you have to try to top that shit in the next 27, 28 days. That shit'll rack your fucking head. Something to think about.
So, like, wait a minute, you can make a living with only 300 people on a stream? Yes. Yes, I can. Because I have dedicated viewers who support what I put out. It's not casual viewers coming in to just watch and leave and frivolously, do something. These are dedicated people who love me.
What do you mean frivolously do something? It's a free platform. They have the right to step into anybody's, let's use his analogy, restaurant, storefront, whatever the fuck you want to call it. They're not obligated to do anything about anything. When someone clicks on a video, for example, as myself, for example, you're not obligated to do a goddamn thing. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Even if you like it, you're not obligated to do a goddamn thing. This whole concept of, oh, I'm a streamer, I should be paid for my time. By who? By whom? And who put you in that position to make you feel that way? If you've chosen to be a streamer or a content creator for a living, I think your job, is to be entertaining. Is it not? Because who would want to pay for mundane bullshit? If you want to do that, then I would assume people still have cable. You can pay for that. No one owes you anything just because you exist. You want to know why? Because one, there's nothing to say that they have to. YouTube's a free platform. And whatnot, you're not paying for the infrastructure. You're not investing in it. I mean, shit, you can't even invest in yourself. So how would I expect you to invest in YouTube? But two, you're a dime a million. Do you know how many fucking channels out there do what DSP does? and you may have never heard of them because the fucking market is so goddamn saturated. A lot. A shitload. And they do it better, or at least they try to do it better. And they may not get, they definitely don't get the money he makes, and they definitely don't get the views. But yet, they keep trucking at it. That's what real passion is. That's what real dedication is. Not sitting around to a bunch of fucking rejects that can't go anywhere else because they're fucking degenerates, right? Or they have such low self-esteem that they couldn't do anything else anyway, or they can't go anywhere else anyway, or they can't, or they can't assimilate into a new community because they don't know how to talk to people. They've been talked down to and treated like shit for so long that they don't know they don't know how to go somewhere else and start over with a group of people that will actually show them respect. Which just goes to show socially and emotionally in a lot of ways how much of a deficit it is to be around Dark Side Phil, especially for a long period of time. These are the quintessential reasons on why people shit on him. It's one of the reasons why Moist Critical did. But he didn't do it to save the fucking world. Moist Critical doesn't give a fuck about detractors. He doesn't give a fuck about DSP. He watches detractor content to be entertained and he moves the fuck on. If he feels that it's something relevant that he can speak on, he will. But interviewing you was not going to do anything for Moist Critical. And it really, I mean, it would have been a short-term buzz for you because Moist Critical is not going to tell his audience to give you money or support you or whatever other cuckery you thought it was going to be. That's just not going to happen. Why would they do that when the guy that's platforming you already puts out amazing content, if you will? That doesn't make any sense on how any of that was going to be beneficial to you. That's why you should have stayed in your fucking lane and either done the Medicare, Null, Destiny. I mean, shit, supposedly Nick Rekieta, I wish I had the clip for this. Supposedly Nick Rekieta has been, even now, is still considering on paying DSP for the interview. He wants to do the interview with DSP, but in all of DSP's responses, oh, I'm going to be so busy and I got to do what I got to do to keep my job going, you know, because I'm running a business, which, i.e., peaky translation is, you got to pay me to come out there. He won't say that to Moist Critical because Moist Critical is going to call him out like a bitch and he doesn't want to be looked at as such. He thinks Nick is going to have a bit more discretion, I think, which is not true. Nick Rekieta, if he pays you money, he's going to light that shit up like a firecracker too. He's going to go ahead and tell the truth about that also. And why shouldn't he? He paid for it. If you're going to put yourself out there like a prostitute, then there's no reason why he shouldn't put the information out there as such. He paid for you. He owns you. See, you don't see that though. So you're so quick to try to get into Nick's pockets and try to steer the interview the way you want, that you think Nick's just going to roll over and play dead and not say how that interview came about? You're a fucking fool. You're a goddamn fool. Everybody's going to know exactly what Nick paid and everything because Nick has nothing to hide. He has no reason to not disclose those things if it ends up happening. To be honest, and maybe he doesn't say it up front, or maybe he doesn't say it not up front. Maybe he doesn't say it right away. Maybe he waits a week. Maybe he waits a month. Maybe he waits a year. Eventually it's going to come out. Pure and simple. So maybe, ladies and gentlemen, you guys should ask yourself that. Like I said, I don't remember where I saw that clip from, but he was on a panel, and there was a female on that panel that asked Nick about it, and that's when Nick talked about it. Like I said, you might be able to find it on the forums. You might be able to find it in a quick Google search, but Nick did say it, and that was relatively recently, at least in the last 3 months or so, that he said that he was really thinking about paying DSP to get that interview. Because Nick already realizes that that's what you're shooting for. But is DSP going to tell his audience that? Did DSP try to convince Moist Critical of that? Just something to think about. Just something to think about. But that also makes me think, did the quartering pay for that interview? Did the quartering pay for that interview all those years ago?
Years, and they want to see you continue, and they support it, and I'm so appreciative of that. that I'm able to make a living doing what I love, and people, I think, see that and recognize it, and that's why they support that effort. As opposed to, oh, who's the new Joe Blow big YouTuber who has 2 million views on every video they put out, but 99% of their viewership is just casual people watching something just because it's popular, and they never really engage in anything, right?
Views, views, views. I don't want to be Mr. Views.
Okay, last tip until we can adjourn here. An anonymous tipper tipped me $1, said, what would it take to upgrade your streaming setup? I'm watching you for over 4 years. Literally nothing has been spent on upgrading the viewing and streaming experience in that time. You'd be very surprised how easy it is for you to upgrade for a more professional setup. There's streamers who don't make in a year what you make in a week, and they do it. Here we go. So basically someone who knows absolutely nothing. So that's interesting. Someone who literally doesn't know anything, talking out of their butt. All right, it's hilarious. Notice they're bringing up other streamers. They don't name any names, you know. It's nonsense, okay?
I mean,
now,
you almost now we want to talk about vagaries. All right, I mean, you don't talk about other streamers and the money they make or whatever the case may be. What about those supposed Let's Players that you and Catherine watch on your days off? You never put any of their names out there, so it's okay for you not to do it, but it's not okay for this person to do it? How does that make sense? And then, to be honest with you, you should be grateful that he doesn't put out names, because it's very easy, according to DSP, since everybody in this community, if one wants to call it a community, spins everything that he says, they could easily take that clip and flip it whatever way you want to without any context and send it to that guy or to that other Let's Player or content creator or whatever, and then that turned into a fucking clusterfuck. So maybe it's a good thing they didn't say anything, but that's just me. That's just me. But let's not talk about vagaries and sneak dissing and taking shots or whatever. A point can be made without having to say somebody in particular. Nothing real. I'm not saying that nothing can come out of that, but even still, in this particular context, in this particular situation, you could literally point out any detractor, and that right there in itself is a good enough example. It doesn't have to be a direct peer of DSPs. It could be anybody. It could be anybody.
Realistically, what in my setup needs upgrading? Well, my microphone's fine. No issues with my microphone, right? Seems to be good. My camera has now been upgraded this year.
Wait,
it's now 1080.
There's nothing wrong with my my microphone. How many times does that microphone come in and out because this idiot won't fucking upgrade the drivers? Really is what it comes down to. As it pertains to the camera, you didn't pay for the camera to get fucking upgraded. Someone else did that for you. Because you, for all these years, said, oh, I'd like to get a better camera with a big lens, but, you know, I can't do that right now because I don't have the money for it, so I have to go with this. But then, as it pertains to my setup and how I have my webcam on the screen as it pertains to the game, this works out just perfectly. What's the point of me being at 1080p when this thing is only at 360 or at 480? Doesn't make any sense, right? So, you know, that works out just fine. It is what it is. What other excuses do you have for me? I'm waiting to go ahead and cut that up too.
AP full crisp quality, that's fine, right? You know, I would say arguably the thing that needs to be upgraded is the PC. There's really nothing left. Like, I have the modern consoles. I have a better TV this year. I just upgraded because I needed it. You know, the
you didn't
one
pay
thing.
For those consoles. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, he didn't pay for those consoles. I mean, the PS. Most of you would say, well, didn't he pay for the PS5? Let's be honest, that was tip money. That was tip money that paid for that shit. So let's call a spade, but if you want to. But he definitely didn't pay for the Xbox. Definitely didn't pay for the TV. That's the second TV that was given that he didn't pay for. Someone else is paying for it. It's on someone else's dime. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I don't even know if the graphics card situation has happened just yet. I don't think so. So he didn't pay for that because he wants to leave wires and everything strung around the floor and everything like that. Like, what point is he actually making? And this is why DSP is so dependent on people's ignorance. The less you know about the quote-unquote inner workings, the better. Because the more you know, for someone like DSP, for someone like Wings, for any locale, the more dangerous you are.
Would be a new PC. And we already talked about it this year. We went through it, actually. On several different podcasts, we went through the components. And people said, well, on the low end, if all I'm looking to do with the PC is capture and upload and stream, you're talking around $1,500 to $1,800. And that would do exactly what I want. If I'm looking to future-proof, a PC that maybe could game as well, that also could do 4K in the future if I wanted to, and we're fully upgrading everything, we're talking almost a $3,000 PC. And that's what we came to. I have the listing over there of all the components. We broke it down. That's what we came to, okay? So that being said,
let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about the fucking PC that Rich was going to give him. That's a few years old, certainly. But components are good enough, as well as the motherboard is adaptable enough to where you could add new components to it, to where it could easily hold DSP off for a few more years. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how DSP had that on the back burner, and all he had to do was pay for shipping. Let's talk about how DSP could have just paid for shipping, had that shit sent to him, and still conducted his bullshit scam on trying to get the new PC. And if Rich comes out and says, hey, I understand that DSP is trying to get you guys to look at components or whatever, well, I just sent him a new PC. DSP could easily pivot and say, yes, he did send me a PC. All I had to do was pay for shipping, but it's a few years old, it's a few years removed, and this is in case shit happens. How about that? He could have easily have pivoted to that, and that would have been with a level of practicality. But let's go further. Let's go to something else that no one else has talked about. What about Panda's 2 old PCs? Her first one died. You know what I'm saying? That was after they moved. So they end up buying her a brand new one. The same one that I think was left on the floor when DSP took pictures of what her room/office looked like when she left. Why not use her PC? You didn't give it to Kat because Kat's running her own rig. So why not use that one? Just saying, it's obviously not going to be nearly as powerful or as versatile as his $3,000 lemon, but it is something. Anybody? Alright, I just thought I'd throw it out there.
You know, that's what we're looking at. And my face itches. And, you know, it is what it is. Can I afford that? No. Well, let me put it this way, Papa Vero. I had absolutely no ability to spend any money on anything in the last few years. Now, due to some recent developments, maybe in the next couple of years, if I can get back to a better position financially behind the scenes with things that I need to catch up on, I might actually be able to upgrade equipment. Like, actually, it's in. I don't have that kind of money. Like, just this year, my car broke down. Luckily, I had enough money to pay for the car repairs that were over $1,000, and that's the end of that.
That's another interesting thing, because wasn't he begging for money just the week before? Then all of a sudden, this this mystical car situation happened, and we had the $1,000+ to cover it. It's almost as if he was either lying and he's been hoarding money, right? Or B, we called mommy and daddy and they sent the money over. Which one do you think it was?
My TV broke down. How was I able to get a new one? Someone dropped a big donation on a stream, and I was able to use that to buy the new TV. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not rolling in dough. I've got a lot of.
Funny enough, though, you didn't pay for the TV. You didn't pay the TV off. You're paying in installments, which is kind of stupid. But I think it's only 4 installments, so theoretically, that TV should already be paid off. Theoretically, no, not yet. Probably paid off in like March. Maybe? I don't know if it's weekly or monthly. I don't know. I pay for all my shit on Amazon, so I don't need that. But we know it. The point being is, like, I'm pretty sure that thing is like 4 installments. So let's say if it's 4 months, then it is what it is. But even then, he still didn't pay the damn thing off, which he could have. Just saying. And if he took better care of his shit, he would have a better idea when shit would fall apart. Or when shit's gonna go bad. Everything gives off a warning sign to some degree, I should say. I don't know. Your car could be running fantastic Friday. You wake up Monday if you've had a long ass fucking weekend and that bitch don't crank. And shit happens. So I'm sure we've all gone through that.
Financial obligations. I'm behind on financial obligations, and that's just life. That's adult life. He's going crazy in his closet right now. That's adult life.
I'm a mature adult, and I'm not a children's entertainer. Time to grow the fuck up.
All right? Am I going to sit here and outline every dollar that I make and spend and tell you, no, it's none of your fucking business? And for you to even ask this question and phrase it like that is very insulting. You're basically an asshole, okay? But
So
basically,
he's
yeah.
an asshole because he's asking you why you can't upgrade your setup, but you don't feel like an asshole begging disabled people for their fucking disability checks so you can have DoorDash multiple times a week? You don't feel like an asshole coming up on there and having your fucking Phil's Day Off segment and talk about how you're infested with ants and fucking roaches? You don't fucking feel like an asshole telling people that Jasper is on his 3rd or 4th or God knows how many fucking urinary tract infections? That shit don't fucking make you feel a certain type of way? But someone is an asshole because they're asking you how are you appropriating your funds so you can continue further your enterprise, i.e. your business. Really, ladies and gentlemen? Really?
It's hilarious that people want to look at other content creators and claim, oh, this person makes way less than you. But look, they're able to do this and this and this. Do you know their life situation? Do you know what financial obligations they have behind the scenes? So I'll give you an example here.
Well, here, let me
All
give you an example before you run your mouth about some shit that you clearly have you know very little about. Most people who don't have a lot of viewership, and you can tell that by either how many people are following them on stream, how many people are on their streams, or how many people follow them on YouTube or their YouTube channel, or how many views they have on their videos or streams, respectively. You can get a general idea of what their viewership is and isn't. Secondly, most people actually list the specs for not just their rig, but for some of the other attachments or some of the other accessories or peripherals, if you will, that they use on stream at any given time. Some of them even have the Amazon link there without even being affiliates. I know that because I've seen some of those things. I've actually ordered some of those things off of Amazon through their link. That's actually a pretty common thing, especially on the tech side. If you watch any of those like computer setup videos or whatever, those things are some pretty fantastic watches. You'd be surprised what you can get away with for a few $100 as it pertains to decor. If you know what I'm saying, to give you a type of comfortable ambiance. It doesn't cost very much. You just need to have a little bit of imagination, and you have to, take a few hours to set everything up and figure out what works and what doesn't, depending on what you're looking for. That's something DSP is not fucking willing to do. He doesn't even put up his own holiday decorations. Catherine does it, allegedly. So how could you ever expect that from him? And everybody has their fucking obligations and shit, Phil. The only difference is they don't put it online. They don't have to spout to their audience that they need money to pay for this. They need money for this. I can't play this game if you guys don't donate. I can't have a nice day off if you guys don't give me enough tonight. You want to know why? Because the average person has a little bit of pride and doesn't feel the need to burden their audience with that. It comes across as being fucking pathetic, on top of being irresponsible. It's not a hard concept to figure out.
A decade ago, all right, I lived by myself. I didn't have a giant mortgage I was paying every month. I didn't have all these financial issues that had built up over time. None of this. 10 years ago, when I was making big money on YouTube, that was liquid money for me. I could blow it out.
I thought we were about looking forward and not looking back. What the fuck does 10 years ago have to do with anything? So you want to make yourself look even more pathetic by saying, oh, well, 10 years ago, I blew all of my money on stupid shit. So now, 10 years later, when I really need things, I don't have it because I have to beg for it. I didn't save anything. I didn't put nothing away. All of those glory years, those big years of the gravy train, milk and honey, whatever. Oh, I didn't save a lick of cents for any of that because I didn't have a lick of cents. And now I'm fucked and I have to basically fucking live paycheck to paycheck. How does that make you sound better? like seriously, how is he proving his argument by saying that? That's the most pathetic thing I've ever heard. That's the most pathetic thing I've ever heard. He's literally saying, I'm in the same spot I was 10 years ago, just with less money, less opportunity, and less, and further unwashed. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, he's just saying that 10 years later, he didn't progress. He's in a worse position now than he was a decade ago. That's not something to fucking bring up as an argument or to make a point of. That's fucking embarrassing. And people have the nerve to say you got pride. Holy shit.
I wanted. So when there was a collector's edition, I bought it. When there was a new console, I bought it. When there was a new peripheral, I bought it. I bought new joysticks, new controllers. I bought the PS VR. I bought the fucking PS Move.
Congratulations, retard. You spent your money on dumb shit that don't mean nothing now. Instead of you saving some of that for when you really needed it. Thank you, Phil, for admitting that you were so fucking short-sighted, right? That you had no plan, not only for your fucking life, but for your quote-unquote business. And you only bought the house on a fucking whim, sunk everything into it, and that damn thing may collapse around you the way things keep going. Congratulations, you played yourself. Play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
I bought every little gimmicky piece of shit. The PS Vita, which I didn't need, but I bought it for review purposes because I could all afford it, right? That was a different era. I'm 40 years old now. I have a family. I have all these obligations and responsibilities, you know? I have to take care of every creature living in this house.
What family do you have? You mean the broken wife and the even more broken fucking declawed cat? That's supposed to be your fucking family? And I know it's disrespectful to say that Catherine's broken. I get it. Sorry, but I'm not sorry, though. You chose a weak woman that you could manipulate, and then you got yourself a disabled cat to basically keep Catherine and to keep the other cat in line. I find it... I have a level of disgust just by you saying that's for family. That's disgusting. And it's hurtful. It's hurtful, too, in a lot of ways. Not to say that Catherine couldn't make something of herself. She's just not going to do it with you. There's no opportunity for her to grow. Just like Panda before her. And Jasper, I'll be perfectly honest with you. To be honest, I'm surprised Jasper is still alive. I gotta be honest. I'm really, really surprised that Cat has made it this far. I've told Agent Proper too. We need to pull him out, but Jasper says he's in it. He's in it to the end, like a fucking true soldier. Hopefully, we can get him a nicer headstone than fucking T. Carter. But goddamn, dude, like you tarnish everything you touch, and you don't see that. Like, I'm not saying. Actually, I can be honest with myself. I'm not a good person, right? And don't think anything otherwise. I'm not a good person. At the same time, I don't put myself out there to be a good person. I'm not trying to save the fucking world. If I can give you advice and whatnot, then great, and do what you will, if you can even apply it. But that doesn't make me a good person. I'm not gonna stand on some fucking moral grounds on this dumb shit. But I also am gonna sit there and say that this motherfucker don't have pride. I'm also gonna sit here and say giving this person mercy is foolish. It is an act of ignorance to give DSP the benefit of the doubt on anything. The last time I heard someone give DSP the benefit of the doubt, they said, can't remember who it is now, doesn't really matter. They said that he was bad at racial jokes. A day or two later, go ahead and pack her up and send her to the fucking slave farm or whatever the fuck that was. The last detractor that I remember gave him the benefit of the doubt, he was one of the first people to get his channel nuked. Giving DSP the benefit of the doubt provides nothing. You are not going to prove nothing by doing that. There are some people in life, ladies and gentlemen, that are pieces of shit. And you have to just accept that. You are not going to make yourself look any better. And you can and if you're not careful, you can make yourself look far worse trying to prove otherwise. At the end of the day, do what you will. I'm not here to tell anybody to do nothing. But it's a fool's errand to think anything otherwise. He did not get here. DSP did not get to where he's at because he was good at anything. He's a fucking victim. He's a professional fucking victim. Not even a really good one, to be honest. There are professional victims on Twitter who pull in tens of thousands of dollars a month to do nothing but cry on Twitter. They don't have to fucking make YouTube videos. They don't have to stream. They just cry on Twitter about whatever fucking topic it is that they can grift off of. DSP provides nothing. He was a fluke. He's a fraud. He's literally the example of dumb luck. That's it. That's all he'll ever be. And he knows it. Deep down in what little of a fucking soul he has left, he knows it. Because he ain't already sold off the rest. 4 or 5 years ago, if you told him that he would be fucking putting on vests like some reverse hooker, he'd have laughed at you and banned your ass. Now look at him. This motherfucker was almost able to convince people to pay him $300 to put jeans on. It'd been different if they said Catherine to do it. There's nothing redeemable about Darkseid film. At all. There is no saving him. There is no benefit of the doubt. There's none of that. A lolcow is a lolcow for a reason. And maybe some of them can pull themselves out, but he can't. And trying to prove otherwise is a fool's errand.
You know, my wife, my cat, everyone. I'm responsible. To make sure that they have a good life, right? I'm the one that they fall back on. You know, my wife, she works her butt off as much as she can. It's hard out there with retail right now. It is. She's trying to make money and hours are getting cut and shit. It's terrible, you know? So I'm responsible. I'm the one that everything falls on in this home, right? That's a lot of responsibility and that's a lot of stress. Right?
I like how low-key he just admitted that Catherine doesn't pay for anything. He says that she works her ass off, but she doesn't pay anything. Which is something that a bunch of people have already said anyway. And in truth, DSP has mentioned it before, saying that she had her previous life and she had debts and everything over there, yada, yada, yada. Ironically enough, Wings, outside the civil war that's going on over there, or whatever they call it, interesting story, though, with that. It's super interesting about that, because around the time shit started to implode over there in on Wings Land, someone was trying to stand up for him and saying that that people don't pay him. And then all of a sudden all that shit leaked out. Timing's a bitch, gotta tell you. Life comes at you fast. Anywho, interestingly enough, as it pertains to this Wings shit, Wings had just said recently about how, you know, things are getting tight, but, you know, Kelly has, you know, Kelly's money is essentially her money because she needs to pay off all of her obligations, her medical bills, so on and so forth. So Wings is kind of low-key saying the exact same thing, that Kelly don't actually pay for much, if anything, because she has all of her own financial obligations and whatnot. But see, here's the thing. The thing with DSP, at the very least, is a lie. Because if you guys know your lore, you know within the first year that Catherine was there, she was giving up allegedly, she was giving up damn near like 75% of her paycheck. Matter of fact, DSP actually called out his audience saying that I really need you guys to help me out because Catherine's already giving me as much as she can. She has her own bills, she has her own obligations, and she's giving me a large amount of her check each and every week or month or whatever the case may be. She's already maxing herself out. She's working her ass off, and I need your guys' help. And here's another thing too. If what DSP is saying is true, and Catherine's getting her hours cut or whatever, did Catherine ever consider maybe finding a job somewhere else? If you guys are so hard up for money or whatever, if the bills are just starting to become harder and harder to meet, wouldn't it make sense that maybe Catherine get herself another part-time job? I know that might seem asshole-ish of me, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm just throwing it out there. Like, I'm asking him to explore his options. So which one is it? Or if they're cutting back hours, has maybe she considered reaching out to some of her fellow employees and shit and seeing if they wouldn't mind dropping a day or two to her? Most of them probably wouldn't mind doing it. I'm sure some of them wouldn't mind doing so. I'm sure some of them are already working 2 jobs. See, he don't think about stuff like that because he's been out the job field for so goddamn long. Because in the last job that he had was merely because of nepotism that he don't have a clue what the fuck he talking about. Not a fucking clue. At least not to the extent that he makes himself out to be. It makes you wonder. I'm just throwing it out there. Just putting it out there.
She's trying to make money and hours are getting cut and shit. It's terrible, you know? So I'm responsible. I'm the one that everything falls on in this home, right? That's a lot of responsibility and that's a lot of stress, right? For someone, oh, you make a lot of money, so, you know, where's it going? Life. Adult life, which obviously you know nothing about. If you're going to say comments like that, oh, but there's another streamer out there. Yeah, probably another streamer who lives alone, has no financial obligations, lives in a fucking apartment, so they upgraded their setup because that's all they have money to blow on, right? It's a little different. I'm here 6 days a week full time. How do you feel it's
a little different? If they live by themselves, I would assume that they pay rent. I assume they have to pay insurance. They have to pay groceries, light, phone, car payment, gas. Don't you like what? Like because I don't understand that. Like was that a low key shot for people who live in apartments? Why didn't you just say, oh, maybe they just live at home? Oh, you can't do that. You didn't want to go that route, so we have to say, oh, well, they just live in some rinky dink apartment, whatever. Isn't rent in Seattle going up? Actually, isn't there places in Seattle that pay more in rent than you pay in a mortgage? I know certainly across the country there is. So, what? Like, explain. Like, you're gonna have to explain that in a little bit more detail. Just saying. If you're gonna go ahead and dismiss another person with little to no information, which is the same thing you try to ridicule this person who initially asked you this question, you're gonna do the same thing that they're doing. Excuse me. You could at least, explain yourself. You could at least go the extra mile. Just saying. Because I don't see how dismissing someone who lives in an apartment makes a lick of difference. They still got to pay for that apartment, and there's still other things that come along with that, right? I mean that is a logical thing, yeah. I mean, not everybody can be a fucking idiot and buy a fucking middle lot townhouse condo, whatever it was, that's meant for a whole fucking family. And there's only 2 tards and a fucking disabled cat. Just saying. Just saying.
I would love to have more time to spend with my family. I can't. I got to be here 6 days a week full time just to make ends meet. But I got to hear people constantly talking shit.
Well, you seem pretty bad at your job if you have to work, 24 days out of the month? That you must be pretty shitty at your job. Either that or you're overspending. Just throwing it out there. And then you even admitted that the days that you have off, you really don't spend time with your family. Like, it's really just touch and go. I wonder if that's by design. But semantics. Let me not jump too far ahead. But you must be pretty shitty at your job if you're struggling this bad. Just saying. Just saying.
Nonsense. You're out of your fucking mind. So here's what you can do. Like, go fuck yourself. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's hurtful. Very hurtful. But that right there is the struggles of Dark Side Phil. Trying to make ends meet. To try to save his family. He's doing everything he can to keep them out of the poorhouse. It's unfortunate. I mean, do we have internet welfare yet? Probably need to, because apparently these washed up fucking bums of content creators really need it. And apparently Dark Side Phil and Wings of Redemption are right on top of it. Especially if they're saying Wings' leg is as bad as it is. I'm just throwing it out there. Anywho, give me a second to holy shit. Give me a second to kind of get my thoughts together. We'll reconvene, and then I will let you guys go. Holy shit. Wow. Internet welfare. Holy shit. See, ladies and gentlemen, like, I think when we think of DSP, when we think of his e-begging and everything that entails, and we talk about all of the things that he could do differently, or he could do better if he was willing to think things out, or if he took advantage of the opportunities that were around him, and so on and so forth. Truth be told, he can't. He can't do better. It doesn't behoove him to do better or be better. It really don't. Doing better shows that he's able-bodied, if that makes sense. Which means people would have to expect more from him, or they could expect more from him. And he don't want that. He needs to be helpless. He needs to be in distress. He needs to be failing. He needs to point at and say, it's Tevin's fault. He needs to say that I'm not a lol cow. I don't want to fucking have to suck cucumber dick like Review Tech USA. He has to go ahead and put on this faint, fraudulent, it's not sincere. It lacks a lot of sincerity, I should say. He has to put on this front like he gives a fuck about wings. He doesn't give a shit about wings. He gives a shit about profiting off of them. DSP, Phil Burnell, is a loser incarnate. There's some people that are just destined to fail. There are some people that just don't have any drive. And DSP is the quintessential example of that. He doesn't have any drive. He doesn't have any gumption to him. He doesn't know how to take criticism. He deals with failure every day, but he has to throw out 10 or 15 reasons on why he did it to be able to deal with it. DSP may very well outlast a lot of content creators. But that doesn't mean he's in a better position than those content creators. Some people just pick up and go. They just move on with their lives. This is DSP's life. DSP needs the negativity. He needs the hatred. He needs the detractors. He needs people to know that he's a failure so they can keep contributing to him. He needs to keep using Catherine and Jasper as a shield and as sympathy, to be honest with you, to invoke more contributions. He needs to shit on other more successful content creators who have far surpassed him in shorter amount of time, to point at the system and say, well, the system's fucked up because, and that's how these people were able to prevail. You have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, that he looked at Machinima as he was going to do that for the rest of his life. He always thought that he was going to be with Machinima forever, as long as Machinima was open. And truth be told, he may have never even thought that Machinima would ever close down or go away. It's because it's his willingness to humiliate himself is the driving force for why everything happens to him, good or bad. And there's no changing that. There's no getting around it. It is what it is. And pointing and laughing at it is the best way to go about it. But I think we all need to come to the conclusion that you can understand. You don't have to empathize or sympathize with it, but you can understand why people would get pissed off at it. There are a lot of content creators out there, ladies and gentlemen, who stream to nobody. Like, not one person fucking watches their streams. Not one. Streaming hours a day. Having these having these streaming sessions, essentially, where they're trying to improve certain things or whatever, and are literally streaming to nobody. It's tough out there being a content creator. DSP did not push the genre forward. He didn't improve on anything for those who came after him. He couldn't really improve on what was happening to him in real time. He's contributed nothing. He is a parasite on the internet. And everybody sees it. Everybody knows it. Not everybody's willing to admit it, but that's the reality of it. Should you get mad at that? No. But I can't hold it against you if you do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. And I'll see you guys for the next video, whenever that may be. This is the Snort Report. This is DSP News. Always late, never breaking, unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network and Productions. Brought to us by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company. And, oh my god. Hard Snorts, Gin and Tonic, that toxic flavor that never waver. I'm your host. Take care of yourselves, guys.